Hi there, this is Dylis Guyan, and welcome to the Inspired Selling Podcast, the place where business owners and salespeople discover how to attract, convert, and retain more of their ideal clients. And I've got a fantastic guest once again for you this week. I'm going to be talking to Rob Goddard, who is going to talk to us about this really important issue that we should all be thinking about, and it's about planning and growing our business so that we realize the full value of it when we come to exit, when we come to sell. And Rob is the man to help us get the very best price that we can for our business. So let me just give you a little bit of background on Rob. He's an experienced, astute businessman who spent more than 30 years working at senior levels in financial services, commercial banking, insurance in both the UK and the UAE. And I know Rob's very fond of Dubai. This might just come out as we're talking. So he spent 30 years in that environment, but for more than 14, he's been involved in mergers and acquisitions, helping SME business owners to realize the full exit value of their business. And he's an expert in business valuations, and he has a deep understanding of what acquirers are looking for and what they value most highly. Because it's not, of course, just about selling your business. It's about making sure, or about you getting the value. It's about finding the people who are good buyers for your business. And Rob has a deep understanding and extensive knowledge and experience. In fact, he has done more than 338 successful deals, representing more than 2 billion in transaction values. That is huge, Rob. So, welcome to the podcast this morning, Rob. I'm really excited and interested to hear more about this. So, could you just expand, when you talk about growth to exit, could you just expand on that a little bit and give us some more context?
Yeah, certainly. So, and in fact, we've given you old information. It's not 338, it's 341 now. 342 next Tuesday.
Marvellous.
Yeah.
Deals by the day.
Yeah, well, that's so long that might continue, but certainly growth to exit. Most business owners don't prepare sufficiently for the sale of their business, and we find to get a premium price for a business, you actually need to start sometimes 2-3 years in advance, preparing your business, ironing out the wrinkles, making it saleable long before you take it to market to try and sell it. So that's what we mean by the growth to exit. So it's growing the business, but with an end purpose, which is to sell up, maybe 100%. Although some business owners fall in love with their business as they go through this process, and don't actually want to let go. So sometimes they may not sell 100%; they may sell a percentage of it.
Right. Okay. And of course, when they're working with you, you are helping them to with the processes and systems and everything, which I know we're going to get into as we go through this interview. But tell me, Rob, what are the consequences of not planning ahead?
Can be quite dire. The worst case scenario is the business owner has an unsaleable business. Unsaleable because there's things in the business that actually make it hugely unattractive for an acquirer or an investor. Also, businesses are saleable at a low enough price. So anyone can sell a business if you go low enough. But of course, no seller wants to sell for minimum. They want as much as possible. So there are a lot of businesses out there in the past, currently, and I dare say in the future, that don't prepare sufficiently. They therefore then sell at a discount. Or they can't sell it at all, and they feel quite bruised from the process.
Yeah. And I know from my experience in financial services dealing with businesses that a lot of people would say to me, well, of course, my business is my pension.
Yeah, I used to be an IFA back in the old days in the 1980s, and I had business owners saying the very same thing. Do you know what? of those business owners don't have a business anymore, and their pension has gone with them.
Yes.
But it is true to say that a business is probably the largest single asset for the ordinary normal person, owner manager. It's probably bigger than their house in terms of value. So it's the single asset that probably is going to generate the largest capital sum for them when they're looking to retire at some point down the line.
And of course, the danger with it as well is if you were relying on that being part of your pension or part of your retirement income, and you don't realise that full value, I can see why people would feel bruised, why they would feel disappointed, and quite aggrieved, really, that maybe they hadn't started planning earlier.
Yeah, it's right. It's actually, you have to nurture and grow that asset like any other asset. But you're right. Often it gets neglected. I've written a couple of books, but my third book, I think I will entitle The Tyranny of the Urgent.
Right, yes.
The owner manager that never has enough time to do the right things. They don't have the time to prepare their business. They don't have time to take a will out. They don't have time to take life insurance, key man insurance, and cross options on their shareholding. All of those things they recognise are important, but they never seem to get round to doing it. And you're right, I will get the UAE in the conversation. I've just flown back from Dubai last night.
Yeah.
And I had four engagements, 4 speaking engagements. And at the last one, I talked about exit strategies. You can either sell up a business, or the other exit strategy is you die in office. And what I didn't know is that someone in the audience had just lost his business partner. And he came up to me afterwards in tears and said, and I apologized profusely. And he said, no, you don't need to apologize. It's real life that you're sharing. He said, it just, obviously it's raw and it touched something inside of me. But my business partner, who's now dead, kept saying, I will get round to it. I will get round to it. I will get round to a will. And he died in a country with Sharia law. Yeah. So the business owners often don't get round to doing the right things. So we're there in order to help people.
Yes.
And act as a critical friend and get those things done.
Yeah. And it's that accountability, Rob, as well, isn't it? It's you're telling the story there about people, they know they need to do it, but they don't get round to it because they haven't got time, or they feel that other things are more urgent. Having someone like you is a great, not just giving people the steps to follow to grow their business, but the accountability piece, so that it's like, well, I've got to do this because Rob's coming in. or the lovely Philip is coming in.
I'm a nice person, really. I don't intimidate. But we do have an actual program, a growth to exit program, which is a business mentoring, business coaching offering. For that very reason that you've just said, Dylis, it's to plan the campaign ahead. Yes. And then make sure it's executed. And we are that critical friend accountability piece for the business owner. That they find so valuable and helpful. Sometimes we can spend 2 to 3 years with a business owner preparing and moving their business forward. It often grows in terms of shareholder value in that time, but it's more saleable at the end of it, and therefore more likely to sell first time round when the time comes.
Yes, yeah, indeed. So what do you see when you are talking to businesses initially, or even just in your everyday kind of coming up and you're talking to business owners, what do you see as being the biggest mistakes that they're making, apart from what we've just touched on there, that they're not taking the time and they're not even taking action, even those who do decide that they need to do something and take action, they're not doing it quick enough? What are the mistakes are you seeing?
So the most common ones, number one, lack of succession plan. And by that I mean the business can't run day to day without the owner. And that's a real problem. Because if you are the business as a business owner, if you're listening to this podcast and the business revolves around you day to day, your business may be unsaleable Because the one thing when you come to sell it, you're not selling is you. You're exiting stage left.
Yes.
So it's like selling a car without an engine, and a car without an engine is scrap metal. And it may sound a harsh thing to say, but that's the reality quite often. So unless you're prepared to stay on for a few years under new ownership, and there's no way around it. And in fact, if you are prepared to stay on under new ownership, let me ask you one question. When's the last time you had a boss? It may be 20, 30 years since you had someone above you telling you what to do. So a lot of entrepreneurs, owner-managers find that a very uncomfortable life and actually leave. So lack of succession plan is the most common problem that a business owner has. Quite often business owners are a legend in their own lunchtime. They are calling the shots. They make their own microcosm, microclimate. They may have 30, 40 staff that can come into their office asking for their sage advice any time of the day, any day of the week. That's fine in terms of running the business if that's your preferred management style. But if you want to sell it to a third party, a complete stranger, that could be a problem. So succession plan lack of is one. The second most common is lack of robust financial reporting. You would be amazed at how many business owners do not have robust financial reports. I either mean accounts and management accounts. And even the accounts that are filed at Companies House are sometimes not drawn up in accountancy with general accountancy principles. They're not. And of course, again, it may not cause a problem in the day-to-day running, but as soon as you come to sell it and someone's looking at your business with a microscope under something called due diligence, they'll pick this up and they'll use it as a leverage to chip on price. So lack of succession. So make sure you've got a number two. Make sure you've got a team of directors, ideally, to run the business day to day. And make sure your financial reporting mechanisms are beyond reproach and are robust. Those are two major tips.
Yeah, and something you've just touched on there, that they will use that to chip away at the price.
Look, sometimes we work with buyers. We're on the other side of the table sometimes, and that's exactly what we do when we represent an investor. Yes. It's like separating the gazelle from the herd when you're a lion.
Yes. Great analogy. Yes. But the thing is, people have to think about, if they will allow themselves the space to think and plan ahead, they have to start thinking about and getting to the shoes of the buyer.
Absolutely, because it's like anything in selling. Anyone listening to this that's in sales, the first thing that you do, this should resonate with salespeople. Put yourself in the shoes of the person opposite that you're looking to sell to. What are they looking for? What are they not looking for? You're reflecting their body language. You're reflecting the language that they're using as well. That can often be forgotten. But yes, you do need to walk in the moccasins of the other person.
Yeah. And are there any other major mistakes that you see, or are they the two? Oh, we've got three now, actually. One is that people don't stop.
I'll give you four if you like.
Go on then. Let me just
owners...
recap, and I'll just recap on the things that we've talked about. So one is that they don't stop to plan ahead because they're so busy with everything that they don't take the time to actually think about planning ahead to get, make sure that they get that best price at the end. They don't think about the succession planning, and they're carrying the business on their shoulders. And when they leave, really, the business can crumble when that person leaves. The other thing was about having robust accounts.
Yes.
And that's fairly obvious, really, isn't it? When when you think of a buyer coming to look at a business and to bid, they're going to be looking at those things. But
I do that.
Yeah, one of the things that you also touched on was about, if you're going to stay in the business for a while, so somebody buys it, but you're going to stay in. A friend of mine, her husband sold his business, and he was on contract for 2 years following the buyout. He was absolutely, it was the most miserable time of his life. He hated it.
Mm.
He absolutely hated it. And so, that's an example of making sure that you've got your succession planning in place, which of course are all the things that you do. So go and share a fourth one with us then, Rob.
Commercial versus emotional. Mm-hmm. Most owner managers, and when I come to sell my business, Evolution, I know I'll fall into the trap of being defensive. I'll be emotional about the sale of my business because I gave birth to it. I've nurtured it. It's my baby. And now I'm sitting in front of a trail of complete strangers who have cash on the hip wanting to buy my shares in the business in exchange for cash. They are going to criticize my company. They're going to find things and then make them bigger so they can chip me on price. I know they're going to do that. That won't stop me being emotional. So I'll actually have a trained negotiator sitting alongside me, someone who can do the negotiation piece. I can be half a step removed and be less emotional. I can consider what's being said and exchanged. So a lot of business owners get emotional about the sale of their business, particularly when you're talking numbers. And of course, the buyer has none of that baggage. The buyer is usually a larger company. They've bought before, many times before. They are commercial. They're looking at the numbers. They're looking to get the business for as little as possible, cheaply as possible, minimum fuss. So there's this commercial versus emotional. So one of the things we encourage and coach our clients during the process is just don't rise to the bait. Let us do the negotiation. You're sitting alongside us and can chip in, but let us negotiate the deal for you, and try to remain as unemotional as possible, pleasant and considerate, and the rest of it. But let off steam once they've gone.
Yes,
that's really, really hard.
Yeah,
really.
And this is the benefit of having someone like you come in and be the coach, be that critical partner, be the accountability partner, to give someone the exact steps and these little nuggets of information that all added together makes such a difference at the end.
It does. And we can say, do you know what's just happened is normal. And when someone hears that, a client hears that, you can see on their face, they just relax. It's normal.
Exactly. And out of 341 businesses sold, you will know everything about everything and all of the pitfalls and the things that people need to be wary of.
We've seen a lot. I dare say there'll be some surprises in the future, but we've seen a lot. I've seen a lot. There is very little that surprises. We can buy and sell businesses in a sector, and we can work with clients of any size, any business size. But usually 80% of the things that come up we've seen before easily, are very common. And probably another 19% on top of that it's come up more than one occasion before. So we've been there, done it, worn the t-shirt. Yeah.
And I think the other thing to bear in mind is that if you have a professional like yourself come in and walk through that process with you, you are far more likely to get a greater value. We kind of touched on getting that, what was the word, realize the full exit value.
Yeah.
You and I know some of the examples of businesses that you have sold and the uplift on value that you have achieved for them.
Yeah, you're right. Over the last 5 years, we've achieved a 45% uplift on a business value compared to an accountant's valuation, sort of a reasonable middle of the road valuation.
Yeah.
And that's largely down to skill of my team, but also it's about competitive tension. Because you know what, if you've got something for sale, Dylis, and you've got more than one person who wants to buy it, do you know what? I learned this at Portsmouth University. You can charge more.
Yes.
You've got more than one person who wants to start, the price could go up. But I learned economics. It's called law of the demand and supply.
Yes.
But many business owners forget that. They only speak with one potential buyer. And what they're doing in effect and unwittingly is leaving cash on the table.
Yes.
So we say to drive up price, you need competitive tension and you need the right people representing you. Those two things will ensure that you get maximum value for your business.
And often business owners will go, oh, well, I can't pay for someone like Rob to come in and pay for those professional services. But actually it's false economy because they're making more at the end anyway.
Yeah, I'm often asked, because I do lots of speaking engagements, have done for years, and I'm sometimes asked from the floor live, what's your fees? And I don't shrink away from it. And in fact, I normally say we're reassuringly expensive. Just take lager. We are, because if you pay peanuts, you'll get monkeys is another expression. Yeah. So you have got to pay professional fees with the right professionals in order to do the job for you. And you are exactly right, Dylis. You can spend tens of thousands of pounds paying for a professional to represent you, but they could add millions to the sale price of your business, depending on how large you are. So it's a no-brainer, I have to say. If people don't want to pay, it's usually retainer fees. They don't want to pay upfront fees. And I'll say, well, that's fine. Either go and do it yourself if you've got 1,500 hours to spare next year, or go to someone who looks to be cheap, or certainly a lot cheaper, and then come back to me in 6 months' time when the business hasn't sold and we can do it properly. Yeah. So I'm quite relaxed about that. If people are only looking to spend a few £1,000s to sell their business, that is not enough. Absolutely not enough. It's tens of thousands in terms of a retainer, and then we charge a percentage, which is our commission on the deal.
Yeah, and so there's two things there. There's one is about getting a buyer. So using someone professional like you is getting a buyer, but also maximizing the value and realizing the full value that you can bring.
I have an 8-person team in Evolution, our international research centre. They find buyers all over the world, both for UK customers, UK clients that are looking to sell, and also our UAE clients looking for international buyers. They can find 8 people working 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, can find buyers.
Yeah. It's incredible, and I do know a bit about your company, and I'm really impressed. Hence why I asked you to come onto the podcast today, because I just know you've got such valuable information for people.
The resources,
What are the key elements that people should think about and put in place right now, and then move forward to getting someone like you to come in and walk that journey with them?
Okay, so initially we don't mind investing a bit of time and skin in the game by just having a 2-hour discussion with a fellow business owner about where they are and where they want to be. Yeah. And I have to be honest, sometimes we're not the right partner for that company, and we'll be honest enough to say, I'm not sure that we can help you at this point in time. But most of the time we can help the business owner. So we put some time in and give some advice and a bit of a steer and some guidance. Usually the things that we say up front in order to make the business saleable down the line, don't be at the center of your business. That means things like the website. If you're the only person on your website, that is an owner-reliant business to any acquirer. Yeah. No matter how you say it runs itself, you've shot yourself in the foot with your website. So actually, make sure the prominent people are your key members of the staff, because that's what you're selling. Yes. Is the people you're leaving behind. Certainly the key one. So succession plan, get a number 2 if you haven't got one, at least a GM, a general manager that can run it day to day, and you sit above them and you give direction and strategy. Ideally, though, you want a team of directors, and that takes years to build with the right team. And also coupled with that, upskill people. Don't keep everything to yourself as an owner manager. Why not delegate? Why not upskill your team? Why not have? Do you know what? There are people in my company that are better than me. Just I own the equity. Yes. But they're better at me at a whole range of things. I'm not a great researcher. I don't have an eye for detail. but I've got some fantastic researchers in my company. So it's about upskilling and delegation. So that's one key thing. The other thing is get the numbers right.
Mm.
If your accountant isn't producing timely, thorough accounts, change them.
Right.
Your business may have outgrown your accountant, and you definitely.
Yes.
So I was going to say to this that having an accountant that's not up for the job, fit for purpose, when you're selling a company is a bad move. It could cost you the deal in the worst situation. You could lose millions because your accountant isn't up to scratch for the sale of the business. So those would be the two gems that I would leave people with.
Fantastic. So, Rob, if someone would like to have a 2-hour session with you or just an initial conversation, how can they get in touch with you?
So they can come through. They can fill in a form on our website. They can pick up the phone to the office. It's either me or one of the team. I have a team of directors here and senior people that will happily listen and decide, okay, well, maybe we should have a meeting and talk through where you're at. Or email me on, and I'm sure some details might come up on rgoddard@evolutioncbs.co.uk. Right,
let me just cover that again. So the website is evolutioncbs.co.uk.
No, the website is evolutioncbs.co.uk.
Yeah. And your
email is rgoddard@evolutioncbs.co.uk.
Fantastic. It'll all be in the show notes anyway, but if anyone's watching this on YouTube, for example, it won't, but I can put it in the show notes on there too. And the number of your office, Rob, what's the telephone number if anyone wants to just make a call?
That's a very good question.
Well, don't worry, because I shall find it and I'll put it.
I know my mobile. What they can do is go onto Amazon and look for a lovely blue book called The 11 Commandments and the 7 Cardinal Sins of Selling a Business. 11 Commandments, 7 Cardinal Sins. It's a blue book. It's got a cartoon of me on the front.
Yeah.
It will tell you all you need to know about maximizing value of business. And it's on Amazon.
Fantastic. Rob, thank you so much. This has been so insightful, and I'm sure that many people will be watching or listening to this and thinking, I need to do something. I need to take some action now. And I'm just going to leave with a little story. And I was working with some sales leaders this week, and they were saying, "Oh, but Dylis, I haven't got time. And I said, let me tell you about the guy who's up in a tree and he's cutting a branch down. And a neighbour goes past and says, what are you doing? He said, I'm cutting this branch down because it's casting a shadow across my kitchen window. He said, oh, yeah, good luck then, mate. 2 hours later, the neighbour goes past again. The guy's still in the tree. He said, what on earth are you still doing up in that tree? He said, I'm having a terrible job because my saw is blunt. He said, well, why don't you get down and sharpen it? He said, I haven't got time.
Brilliant.
Isn't that sometimes what we do?
Tyranny Urgent, my third book.
Yes, indeed. So we shall say goodbye on that note, and thanks once again, Rob.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.